Now then everybody, Travis here again, and today I'm going to show you how to paint salamanders using contrast paint. Let's do this. So here we go, Warp Lightning Green to start off with, and doing this over the usual zenithal highlighting to start off with does make a bit of a difference, but what I would say is don't use a gloss white like I've done. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. So try and hit it with a coat of matte varnish before you actually start this bit. It'll make your life so much easier in the long run. Once you've got it all covered, just work it so it's nice and even. You will still get that recessed shading from this, but you'll get less of the patchy effect afterwards. And once it's done, that's what it looks like. And we're just going to go in and do the shoulder pads in a bad and black, but you can use any black that you've got, thin it down a little bit and got those shoulder pads covered. You don't have to be too neat at this point. What I would say is when you're doing the pipes and the backs of the legs and the rubber bits, take a bit of care there, but on the shoulder pads you're going to have the gold trim, so it doesn't really matter. Now onto the trim around the shoulder pads, and we're using Retributor armour. I really do like this gold at the minute. It's nice and bright, but it's still quite warm at the same time, so it washes down well and you don't need to do a lot to it. This is the point where you do need to start being neat, but not too much. There's not a lot of gold on there. And now I've gone into Vallejo Metal Color Jet Exhaust. This is my favourite metallic bar none at the moment. It paints really well, it just flows, and you really don't need to do a lot of work to get a really good looking metal effect with this stuff. It is quite expensive, but it's a big bottle and it lasts a long time. And then we're just touching all the flamer parts up on this fist. Any metal bits around that you haven't done gold, touch them up. It's really nice and simple, this stuff. Once you've washed over it, it's pretty much done. It really does. You can highlight if you want to. Most of the time I don't bother because it just works so well. Now we're on to Flesh Tears Red. It's another contrast paint, and I really do like these contrast paints. Although some of you might not believe that from one of my previous videos, I am finding a way to work them into my workflow now, and there are a lot of uses for them for a commission painter doing things like this. They do save a lot of time, and they go over multiple different colours to give different effects as well. Just doing the pipes on this one to add a bit of a splash of colour as a contrast to the sheer amount of green. And for anyone wondering, I will cover the base in a later date. That'll be out next week sometime. I do like to do the base halfway through, especially on something like this, because there's a bit of overspray to add a mild bit of OSL around his legs. So that's why that got done at this point. And but I will go over that in a later video. Now I'm going on to Vallejo Colors Escorpina Green. This is one of my favourite greens I use for highlighting. And with the contrast that's done most of the work, you really only need to do a quick edge highlighting. And with this, a little goes a long way. That's all I'll say. Every single edge, otherwise it'll be Dayglow green before you know it. Just pick out a select few highlights, and I'm not saying they have to be natural highlights, just pick a few and it'll make the model stand out on the tabletop in a multitude of different angles, but don't do all of them, don't go over the top. And for the final step, we are going to wash select parts on this. This is just select washing, mainly the golds, some of the bone colours on his loincloth, silvers, that kind of thing, just to add a bit of depth to it. And like, this model was completely done in under an hour, and that's including the base as well. I did the basing as well, and it's a really straightforward, simple paint job. Looks really nice on the tabletop. So there you have it. Salamanders with contrast paints. A little bit of extra effort goes a long way in my opinion as far as these are concerned. Working the contrast paints while they're wet so they don't go as patchy. You still get that effect. You can add a bit more if you want to darken it up as well. A simple one edge highlight really does make these things pop once you've used contrast. All in all, about an hour to paint this one. From start to finish, including the base that's painted and all the basing stuff on that. But I will do a video on that coming up next week or in a few days, depending on when I get round to it. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you all to the new subscribers who've come from Luke's video. If you haven't seen that, I'll link it up here and down here. So, check it out and watch it. I had a blast making it. Not so much fun time editing it, but it was such a fun video to do. We had a laugh and played some tricks on each other. So, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. Any questions, drop them down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all the usual stuff, and I will see you in the next one. Travis out. Peace!